Hello.
Hey.
It is Marla with Lifestyle by Marla and Sanjo.
A website renegade and also Lifestyle by Marla.
Hey. So, what we are doing actually this time around is we would like to incorporate kind of some things that we've been through in hopes to encourage some people who are currently going through what we've been through. We've got a little 1-year-old running around in the background, so if you hear noise, that is what you hear. But we have been through some things in the past, how many years?
Since, let's just say 2011.
So about 9 years. And he was once military, once a Marine, always a Marine.
That's right.
So he's still there, but he struggled with PTSD. So with him struggling with PTSD, it caused me to relearn him and relearn how things, how things operate and how his likes and dislikes and all the things that go through it. So we fought a lot. I'm going to be real with you, okay?
Yeah, so, this is not a cushy, feel-good things. This is just letting you know that this is actual work in progress. Because it's been something that's been bothering me and it's been bothering her for a while. It's like, well, how do you live with a person who has PTSD? And as a matter of fact, the person with PTSD, is it just that person who has it, or is it the spouse too? Or the person, your significant other? And that's something that is not really talked about in health and mental health care. How to deal with all this stuff, because a lot of components of it is missed between the person who has a greater, I don't know, potency of PTSD and the person who has to manage and deal with that person who has PTSD. And
I'm a firm believer that if your husband has PTSD or your loved one has PTSD, you are also going to need help. You also need to go through treatment, and you also need to learn how to deal with that, because it's a serious thing, and it's so hard to get through to them. It's so hard to in your mind you're thinking, well, this isn't the person that he was, and so it's relearning the whole entire shebang.
Yeah, and it's not just her relearning it. It's you, the individual who has PTSD. You're relearning two things. You're relearning yourself, because let's face it, that's part of the reason of PTSD is because you no longer know who you are, right? And you really can't even. You're on this journey to identify yourself, and at the same time, you have to learn your spouse. Most PTSD, for those, since we're specifically focusing in on those who are active duty military who served, right? And this goes for law enforcement too, because you guys are active duty in our nation, at home base, dealing with it day in and day out. So it's just a different way of thinking to realize that you're not just learning you and how to deal with your emotions and your stuff that you're going through, but you also have got to learn how to deal with your spouse and how they're going through it, because they live with you. So there's going to be a dynamic change. That's what Marla here was talking about. It's like she had to relearn me, and it still has to learn me. But the first step, the first step to anything to recovering anything is admitting that there's a problem.
So let's go back to that. What is PTSD? Because there might be a lot of people out there that are like, okay, I'm freaking out on my wife, I'm freaking out on my kids, I'm short-tempered, I hate going places, I have severe anxiety, but do I have PTSD? So what is PTSD?
Okay, well, PTSD is a traumatic experience that you went through, all right? And your mind shut off a lot of receptors, so that way it brought you into a state of surviving. Okay, mentally, it's the fight or flight mentality that kicks in, and at that moment, all unnecessary things on a sensory overload gets put in the back burner. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that all the things that normally you would like slowly go through and regulate through your emotions, kind of walk right through it, so that way you're managed properly. It gets such a large dose of that happening so much, your mind's like, no, we can't, we don't have time for this. We pushed it to the back so that way you can get what needs to be done. So so PTSD is what clinical terms is post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, that means you're in such a high stress level that your brain, as far as your consciousness, your alert consciousness, put it to the back. It couldn't process it. It's just like, no, we're going to deal with this at a later time so we can focus in on this. So PTSD doesn't just have to be with the battlefield. It could be a traumatic experience that you went through. Childbirth. You got into a car accident. Okay? That is a traumatic experience.
I got in a car accident when was it 2012?
Yeah, when you were pregnant with Kyra? No, Kenzie. You were pregnant.
Yeah, I was pregnant with Mackenzie.
Our second daughter.
Totaled the vehicle. I ended up running into somebody, and it was a big mess. But to this day, that was what, like 8 years ago.
7 years ago.
7 years ago.
No, it was 8. It was 8 because she was still in the womb.
Right. It was 8 years ago. And I, to this day, if I feel like he's like getting too close to a car or going too fast, I'm like, putting my imaginary brakes on. That is PTSD. That when you're reacting to something right now as if it was happening like it did back there. That is PTSD.
Yeah. Well, so that's a manifestation of actual PTSD, is what she just got done describing. All right. And it happens when you least expect it. And we're such resilient creatures that we adapt. Humans are adaptable. That's why we live in all these weird environments. We adapt to the environment that we're put in, so that way we could live the best life we could, right? We can. Same thing with those who go through PTSD. You went through this traumatic experience, and then you developed like skills and traits and little things to help you cope within that environment. Right. So now you're going about life, you don't even recognize it. You don't even know that there has been a change. Like for me, my first tour in Iraq, we did a lot of avoiding what's called IEDs, roadside bombs or VBIDs or vehicle-borne IEDs and stuff like that, right? And one of the things we did, the enemy's tactics were to put wire across the road, and that way we'd run over and create like a tripwire, right? And then boom, something explodes, which would be the roadside bomb. Well, as we're over in country, we're swerving whenever we see any cracks in the ground, because they would reuse the same blown up spot, put another bomb in there, cover it up, so the dark shade, a dark spot, something that was out of place on the road, that was not normal wear and tear, we would avoid it, right? And that's because we had to survive. That was survivability. We're going to avoid the danger that we can perceive. Right. Guess what happens after you do that for so many months, right? You're trained to do it. You do it impulsively. Now we're just driving, chilling. We're just in Iraq, with guns blazing, ready to go whenever something happens. Get back to America. You're out of the war zone. You're out of the environment. You're driving in a, I don't know, Toyota Sentra or some crappy car, all right? Or let's just, for those of you who are ballers and most people that get off, combat environment, they come back and they get like an F-150, the newest Chevy 1500 or 2500, whatever it is, right? You get your truck, you're on the road, you've been driving this way like this for 9 months in Iraq or more, right? And you get back to America, a piece of trash floats around the way. You see a crack in the ground because you can't help but stare at it. So you see a crack in the ground, you're driving, you just swerve, right? There's a car right next to you. It didn't even register to you that you made like this dangerous move, and the person next to you is honking the horn like, what's wrong with you? And if you're in the service, you usually throw up a bird like what's your problem? You want to step out and do something? Because you're not even thinking about the danger, you're just reacting to it because you've adapted to the environment. That is PTSD. And a lot of people don't realize that's how simple it is.
Right.
You women get post-traumatic stress disorder, and they also get what's that called when you no longer want to be with your child.
Postpartum depression.
Postpartum depression, and then you want nothing to do with your baby, right? Because it's just it's like that. I really don't know. It's like a mental thing where you want nothing to do with the child because you don't feel like you can care or take care of the child because you don't know if you can care or take care of yourself.
To the next, no. It goes from one moment to the next, and you're just like wondering what's happening, you know. But the PTSD, it's something that we all have struggled with, and sometimes we just have to come to terms with it. Yes, water. This is water. He likes to drink his water with, weird spray things. Bottles.
We're going through PTSD right now, man. We don't know.
But we're going to be doing more videos on PTSD, and we are not psychologists, we are not, counselors, but we are two real people who have gone through things, and we just want to share some insight. If you're currently going through postpartum or post-traumatic stress disorder, I've been through postpartum depression, he's been through PTSD, and we've had to relearn each other over the years. And I just want you to know that there is hope. There's absolutely hope for joy after the mess. I know things can get really messy and things can get really scary sometimes. And I just want you to know, okay, today, listen up, there is hope for your marriage, there's hope for your relationships, and you don't have to go through this alone.
Yeah, just understand, we're going to be touching on a bunch of different topics, but as we move along the way, you can only have so much material, right, to discuss and talk about. So if you have any questions, leave a comment below, asking us to explore something, because it might be something we know about but we didn't mention in these videos coming up,
right,
that you may really want an answer to, right? And like Marla says, these are things we've had to learn. So we're going to talk about like the medication, we're going to talk about like the realness of communication. How important is that? We're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the individual between her and myself. And then, of course, if you have family, that each child throws a whole different dynamic into that mix. So the more kids you have, the road ahead is going to be a very trying road, right? And we don't have it figured out. We just finally got to the point where we've acclimated enough with each other, adapted to the environment enough, or we're starting from scratch. It's like dating all over again,
And we're 10 years in this month.
Yeah,
10 years.
We're 10 years in, and we, the first year, great, right? And then off to war, and then come back. Who are you? Yeah. And we'll talk about how I planned that, the steps I took. And then she's going to talk what she dealt with while I was gone. And then we're going to talk about the big thing that really started us all off with me. Yeah. And then we're just going to move forward along the way. And then we're going to talk about some real, true struggles and real things that we've gone through. Yeah. And then somehow, we're going to talk about divorce, how some of these things lead to separation, Mm-hmm. So stay with us.
Yeah. If you have any family members who are in the military who you might think are struggling with PTSD, tag them, share this video with them, any military personnel in your family, period, because you may not think they're struggling with PTSD, but maybe they are. This might just be a glimmer of hope for them to know that, listen, there's life after that. There really is. You can live life through PTSD, and you don't have to be alone.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. There's going to be a spoiler alert somewhere along the way. I'm going to do one right now.
Hi.
Sometimes you won't be able to know that active duty service members, especially active duty ones who've gone through war, are actually going through PTSD because we don't talk about our emotions.
They're cut off. I mean, like, cut off, and they don't grow back.
Okay. They grow back in certain circumstances. Like each child I've had has brought a piece of my soul back to me. Okay,
that's true.
Okay, so there is it's extreme measures, But it might be a lot of loving coming forward, all right? You got to be willing to do a lot of that love and connection. So,
He's waving real.
yeah, thank you, buddy. So stay tuned. This is, what are we calling this?
We haven't figured out a good name. If you have a good name for it, put it in the comments below. Let us know, because we're still figuring this out.
I'm thinking of going Warring Peace, but she's talking about peace and war.
I don't know. We'll see. Let us know what we should call this, okay?
All right.
Have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you later.